Former Celtics player Cedric Maxwell was sometimes missing from the parquet during the national anthem out of what he says was respect to the flag. We're sitting down with him now to find out his story and what he thinks about athletes using their platform on a national stage right now. Thank you so much for joining us, Cedric.
You're welcome.
From your past in playing on the Celtics, you used to leave when the national anthem was playing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
It's really just almost a nondescript story, and people would love this because I had a guy ask me that, and I would leave because I got nervous, and I would actually go to the men's room and take myself out of the environment because when the national anthem came on, I felt like you had to stand still. I had nervous energy, so I was jittery. I didn't want to offend anybody, so I just took myself out of the arena. People ask me about it. Well, you hate America? I said, no, I love America. I love what I'm doing. My father was in the military. He would kill me if I didn't do that. But so that was the only reason I just took myself out of the arena. And it's not even a good story when I say, well, I went to the bathroom. That was it.
You came to Boston to play for the Celtics right at the height of the busing controversy here in the 70s. What kind of impression did you have of the city when you first got here?
Hated it because I was from the South. We had already gone through the whole busing issue when I was in high school. So to revisit that maybe 5-6 years later, it was more of an annoyance. So, but I didn't deal with it directly because I was playing with the Celtics. So my part of seeing that was pretty much from afar, but it was still something that was kind of captivating.
Though, you know, the Celtics having the first black head coach, drafting the first black player in the 1950s, they were really at the forefront of racial liberalism in the NBA. Did that affect your experience here playing for them? Like, once you got drafted to the team, knowing that?
No, it really didn't in that way because it's real strange. As much as you play for the Celtics are still identified as a very white team. And that was with Cowens and with Havlicek and with Bird and McHale. There are a lot of people of color who did not like the Celtics because of that. So being a person of color and playing with the Celtics was almost like a really different feel because people looked at you really different. It's like, did you go to play for the Celtics? Did you want to be there? When you were actually drafted to play with this team, so your chances to play elsewhere. But I actually enjoyed it. But it was very rewarding as a team, as a player. But at the same time, there were a lot of stereotypes that kind of came along with being a Celtic player.
And what were some of those stereotypes?
Well, I think that just being a black player and people trying to tell you about the history of the league or the history of the Celtics, when in fact you already knew the history of the Celtics. I knew that the Celtics had drafted the first player. I knew that the Celtics had the first black head coach in Bill Russell. I knew the Celtics had the first starting five players were black, so in their lineup. So the stereotypes that went along with Celtics were really different than what the Celtics were all about.
So switching gears a little bit, to talk about, you know, Kaepernick and everything that's going on with the movement that he's, you know, started to bring to light on the platform of, you know, an athletic stage, the national athletic stage. He's been taking a knee during the national anthem to protest, you know, police brutality, the injustice and unequal treatment of minorities and people of color in America. Do you think that him taking a knee during the national anthem is something that's effective, something that's a good way to bring attention to what he's trying to protest?
First of all, I understand what he's doing, but I think people getting carried away as if Kaepernick was the first person to ever do this. This was done in the Olympics. I think in the 60s it was John Carlos who did it, and they had the gloves on their hands. So people have just gone overboard. And I think because it's a different time now, social media has made it really different where people see all of that all the time. People ask me about Kaepernick in that respect of what he's doing. And my father was in the Vietnam War, and our greatest hero, sports hero, just died, one of them, Muhammad Ali. And people looked at him as a hero. But you got to remember during the time of when he did not go into the draft, he was a draft dodger, and a lot of people hated him because of that. My perspective was a little different because my father got shot still has a piece of shrapnel in him from the Vietnam War, and so he almost died for the rights that Kaepernick is showing now. So this is why I say this is the greatest country in the world. For him to be able to protest and to do it in a peaceful way, who is he bothering? I think it's going to be. I think it sends a sign, it sends a message, but at the same time, it isn't the first. And I think that people are kind of getting carried away with that Kaepernick is the messiah of protest, and he really isn't. So I have a two-pronged look at it. One from the perspective, my father was in the Vietnam War. We still have shrapnel in him now. He's 90 years old. Muhammad Ali, who dodged the draft, who is still one of the greatest sports heroes of all time. What did they do? What is Kaepernick doing? All he's doing is taking a knee. So to the social media aspect, I think, has made Kaepernick's kneeling a lot more prominent than it probably would be during the earlier times.
Linking hands, the Celtics recently had done that. As a former player, how did you receive that when you had seen them, forming that human chain during the national anthem?
Well, the NBA is always getting in front, and I think the NBA was not going to be caught with their pants down. So they just said, we're going to do something. I think that by having all the players do it, I think that it puts it into a different package now, because now it is the idea, the message is being sent, but with everybody doing it instead of just focusing on one person like Kaepernick. You heard, I think it was the Supreme Court Justice talking about Kaepernick, and she apologized because she was like, he said, I don't understand what he's doing. These football players don't do this. But you do have a platform. Is there a message to be sent? Are you obligated to do it as a professional player? That comes with the player. That's what it comes with. Comes with the player. It doesn't come with just because you played, but it comes with the individual person.
So going off that and talking about that platform, do all athletes that decide to take a stand and protest something silently and peacefully, is it a good thing for them to realize their platform and really utilize it to put it out on the main stage and
some are. I don't think everybody's qualified to do what Kaepernick has done. Or in Kaepernick's case, I'll say this, that it seems like he's done his homework and he's done his research, the issues. He's put his money where his mouth is at. There are some guys who just talk the talk but not walk the walk. So in his case, by learning, educating himself, talking to Vietnam vets, talking to people who have been disenfranchised, I think he's put himself on another level so far as understanding. Some players just take a knee because this guy took a knee, but they don't understand what's going on.
And in that sense, the message that Kaepernick is.
Because you're an athlete, you're always going to be in the spotlight. And you would hope that being in the spotlight, that you're doing something that is going to be positive or generate some positive influence towards other people.
Thank you so much, Mr. Maxwell, for sitting down with Inside Boston and talking to us today. Back to you in the studio.